Alright, this is John Colo with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. And in this episode, I'm going to share with you guys how to make coconut yogurt the easy way. Maybe just a few days and you're going to have your own coconut yogurt and save lots of money. You may be familiar with this kind of coconut yogurt here. This is the CocoYo. There's a few other brands, but this is the only brand I really like and enjoy because it's actually the most affordable coconut yogurt brand. It's about 8 ounces and it runs approximately $5 to $6 depending on where you buy it for 8 ounces of the coconut yogurt. And the only ingredients in here are raw young coconut water, and then this one actually has some organic ginger, organic turmeric, and organic probiotic culture, and organic stevia. Although you can get the plain one. The only thing I use to make coconut yogurt is just young coconut meat, which is Thai coconut meat. Also the ones from Vietnam that look like this, they work the best. Older mature coconut does not make as good a coconut yogurt because it's too fibrous actually. And then I use this as my starter culture to ferment this meat into further yogurt because this has active cultures inside it. So in this video I'm going to show you guys how you can easily do that. So aside from the coconut yogurt starter culture you're going to need the coconuts. You'll need some jars to ferment in. I also will be using a yogurt maker. A little bit later I'll share with you guys some options because you need to keep the proper about 100-degree temperature for the yogurt to properly incubate. And then I just have some coconut water, some of which is actually out of the coconuts here that I drained earlier. If you want to learn what I do with the coconut water, check the link down below. I guess my last video was how I make coconut keeper, alright? So the first step is you need to remove the coconut meat out of the coconut. So basically, you're going to need a tool to do that. I do recommend a strong spoon that you can't flex and bend because, getting the meat out can't bend many spoons. If you don't have a standard spoon like this, then a simple tool you guys can get is an ice cream scoop that's very thick. This one's very narrow, so it easily fits in the coconut. And then, of course, if you really want to be spendy, you could get some specialized coconut scraping tool here to go right in to scrape out the meat. I don't really particularly care for this tool. I would just rather use a spoon. So spooning the coconut meat out comes pretty easy, and you want to make sure you don't get any shell fragments when you're doing this, and you want to make sure your coconut meat is as white as possible. If your coconut meat is overly brown or overly purple, then to me that's a sign that it has been oxidized and it may not be so good, and I personally would not use that in a coconut yogurt. You might want to use it for something else or just throw it away. It's very important that you select good coconuts when you guys are picking them out. So you want to look for coconuts when you pick them up. You shouldn't be able to hear any water sloshing. In addition, it should have a nice shell on it, or the husk. It should be all nice and white with no discoloration. This would be not a good coconut to buy. If you were buying one, you could see there's some discoloration. Also, there's some shrinkage of the fibers. That's a sign that it's getting old. This one still happens to be good, but it's not one that I would normally buy. And that's the first step. And then you're going to basically pour out your coconut water, and then you're going to basically just get the meat out. So we got the meat of one coconut in the blender. Oh, and you'll also need a blender unless you want to do it the old-fashioned way with mortar and pestle. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop out the meat out of these remaining 3 coconuts, and we're going to come back at you with the next step. Alright, so I got all the coconut meat out of all the coconuts, and now I want to give you guys a tip actually. So to choose the best young coconut meat for making coconut yogurt, you don't want it too fibrous or too jelly. You want it right in the middle. So the best technique for getting the right texture of coconut meat for making coconut yogurt is to pick up each coconut before you buy it, right? You will notice for the exact same size, some coconuts are, wow, this is surprisingly light. Some will be surprisingly more heavy. But for coconut yogurt, you want the ones that are about medium in weight. If they're too light, that means the meat is getting really mature, the husk is getting a little bit more dried out, and the meat is going to be a bit more thick, like this one that I just pulled out. And if it is really heavy, then that means it probably has a high water content. Maybe the meat is not quite as thick, and you may not have any meat in there actually, and it may not actually be that good for the coconut yogurt. So to pick the best ones, I would pick the ones that are somewhere in the middle, skewing towards the lighter end, not the ones that are super heavy. Now the other thing I want to mention, because I've done this a lot, is as you get out the coconut meat, you may get some kind of the what I call testa, or the shell lining. This is not the hard shell, but this is basically just the lining on the inside of the coconut. It's just brown. You know, it looks unsightly. You can eat it. It's not going to hurt you. It's probably adding fiber to the coconut yogurt, and it's going to be good. Although if you're a frou-frou chef, you don't want things to look a little bit brown, then you want to take it out. I really don't care, and I don't have the time to pick out every brown spot in my coconut yogurt there. So I think we got, I don't know, it's tough to say how much we got because it's not really compressed down. But we have approximately, I don't know, between 20 ounces, probably about 20 ounces of coconut meat. Now we're just going to add coconut water. And I don't know how much water to add. It kind of depends on the maturity of the meat. I think I'm going to basically, on the blender craft though, I basically added it up to 20 fluid ounces. So it's like barely covering the coconut meat that's in there. We're going to then go ahead and blend this in my BlendTech vacuum blender. This is not available at present time. I'm beta testing this model. But a vacuum blender basically sucks out the excess oxygen in the carafe before blending, so you don't have any extra oxidative damage, and you preserve more nutrition, more flavor, and in the case of blending fats, you make a much nicer consistency that you'll end up with. So the first step is to press this button, which will turn this motor on, which will suck all the extra air out of the carafe. The BlendTech is not currently available in the vacuum format. It will be available hopefully later this year. Be sure to check my other YouTube channel, Discount Juicers, and subscribe there, because as soon as this is available, I will have a video on it at that time. Alright, now that we pulled a sufficient vacuum on the container, we're just now going to go ahead and blend this up. You might have to pulse it a little bit to make sure that everything mixes up properly at first. So the blender's all done. Now we're going to go ahead and pull a little tab on the vacuum blender, and you'll watch the level of this mixture kind of sink down a little bit. It shows me it was under vacuum. We're going to take this off, and now you're going to have almost like a smoothie-like consistency. It's you don't want it super watery, so you want to make sure you don't add too much coconut water on the initial step. But if it does not blend well, then you're going to actually have to add a little bit more coconut water. Now the next step, this part is really important. You're going to want to add in some of your coconut yogurt that you had previously bought, or get a coconut yogurt starter culture. And so we're just going to go ahead and mix this up. I'm going to go ahead and grab one spoonful, 2 spoonfuls. This will act as my starter culture. The next step is we're just going to go ahead and carefully mix this up. I'm not going to use a blender because I don't want to basically get the bacteria and fractionate them with the blender blades. It might negatively affect the bacteria. So if we just stir this up manually, we'll probably get a fairly good, get it mixed up fairly well in there. You want to distribute the beneficial probiotics that are in there throughout your mixture so that it can ferment, into the yogurt. The next step is you're going to get some mason jars. I like to only make the yogurt in glass mason jars. I have used the 16 ounce, and sometimes I'll use the 24 ounce. So you're just going to go ahead and take the mixture, and this is a very important step. You only want to fill the cups up about halfway. This is very critical. I could fit in more. Don't do it. The problem with filling it up more is that this coconut yogurt, as it ferments, it will expand. So sometimes I don't even like going up more than halfway at all. Otherwise, you can run into issues with expanding and overflowing the jar and the container that it's in. Alright, looks like we have about equal amounts in all 3 jars. Next step is to lick the spoon, but then no double dipping. It's just, it takes like blended coconut. That's an amazing frosting if you want to add in like dates and then put it on a cake or something like that. I've used it like that before. But super delicious. So the next step is you're just going to simply take the lids. You're going to put a lid on there and take a sealing ring cap And you're going to put this on, but you're not going to crank it down. You're just going to put it so it's connecting, so that any kind of gases or air could come out of the ferment. This is in contrast to the coconut kefir where I crank it down tightly. You don't want to crank down tightly. You just want to keep anything from blowing in out of there, but you also want to let this breathe if it needs to breathe. So we're just going to go ahead and put these just very loosely on over the top. Next step, this is a very important step. You may be able to get away with this without this step, but I encourage you guys to have this step so that you get a proper ferment each and every time. You need to keep this in about 100-degree temperature. That's what you would have to do with regular yogurt. And likewise, we want to do that with our coconut yogurt. So to do this, what I use is I have a coconut yogurt or yogurt maker. And this is actually the Tribest Yolife yogurt maker. And what I do is I just put these jars on this little heat pad, which is basically what it is. And then you can put this dome over the top, which helps retain the heat on the unit. And then we simply just go ahead and plug this in. All right, so once it's plugged in, you'll see that this little red light here, somewhere over here, comes on. And then it is working. It'll heat up the temperature and keep this temperature sustained at about 100 degrees. And pretty much you're going to want to come back about in 24 hours, maybe 36 hours. And what's going to happen is the coconut yogurt level will actually rise because it will expand as the beneficial probiotics are pooping out and doing all their stuff. And that's how you're going to tell it's ready. Now, the longer you let it go, the more fermented it will be to a point. But you want to finally stop the ferment at some point. Usually, I think in general, I let it go for 1 to 2 days. And I kind of look and test it in between and taste to see how it's tasting. If I'm getting that fermented flavor, mild fermented flavor. And then once I get it out, what will happen after a day is you will have something like this. And last batch, I did the large, tall jars, which is nice because the tall jars will also fit in this yogurt maker if you want. And here's a jar that I made previously. You can see that I probably filled it up to here and expanded a little bit. There's a lot of air pockets in there. And then basically what I do is I suck a vacuum. Oops, there's no vacuum on this on this one. But usually I suck a vacuum in here, and it basically will congeal in the container. And I store this for several months in the fridge, and I just use it as I need it. So this is more of a shelf-stable product, whereas the fresh coconut meat is not. And then, of course, we could go ahead and sample some of the coconut yogurt. My favorite way to eat coconut yogurt is to actually add it into recipes or add it into smoothies, or I want to add some fats. So this will add not only some healthy fats, but also give you some fats so you can better absorb some of the fat-soluble vitamins that are in some of the most nutrient-dense foods that I know you guys are eating, like the wild blueberries. And another thing I like to do is I like to take frozen berries and mix in some of this coconut yogurt with it and just mix it in a bowl and let the kind of berries defrost in the coconut yogurt and then just eat it. So it's like my coconut yogurt with berries. Or, of course, you can just eat it straight. Kind of has a little zing to it. I really like this stuff a lot. And it's easy to make at home, relatively inexpensive. You can find cheap coconuts like I did. These coconuts near me this time were only 99 cents. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a vacuum on this. Get this in the fridge, keep it cold. I keep this at about 33 to 36 degrees, just above freezing. And it lasts for a good period of time because it is a fermented food. And it is more shelf stable, especially after pulling the oxygen out of the container by storing it under vacuum. All right? So that's pretty much the episode today on how to easily make coconut yogurt at home with literally just 2 ingredients, the coconut and the coconut yogurt that you can pre-buy to have as your starter culture, or use a starter culture that you buy online if you're not able to source a good, fresh coconut yogurt near you. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, hey, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also, be sure to share this with other people on the body ecology diet or on other anti-candida diets, or people that want to ramp up the level of probiotic-rich foods they're eating by fermenting your own food at home. This is one of my favorite ferments to do because the coconut yogurt can be used in so many ways. I love to put it in dressings and in, curried coconut sauces to add some healthy fats as well as probiotics in with my food. And I always encourage you guys to eat a diversity of foods in your diet, and this is one of my favorite ways to eat the coconut. If you guys enjoyed this video, check the link in the description below for a video where I visited a coconut yogurt and coconut kefir company over in Maui, Hawaii, that actually harvests fresh coconuts, and their process is similar to this, and we get into a lot more questions and answers about the benefits of coconut yogurt as well as coconut kefir. Also be sure to check the link down below in the description for a video, my last video, to how you can make coconut kefir with the water that comes out of your coconuts. Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new upcoming episodes that come out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel that can truly enrich your health and encourage you to be healthier in the long run. Make sure to click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. Finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes, over 500 episodes at this time, are a wealth of knowledge that teach you guys how to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables and have a nutrient-dense diet so you can get healthier. So with that, my name is John Kohler with CocoYo.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables and your coconut yogurt for the best health ever.